Welcome to Live, Let Thrive, a podcast about the Airbnb life, the share economy, and everything in between. Here are your hosts, Myka and Steve.
Hello, hello, hello.
And welcome back to another exciting episode
Of Live
Let
Thrive. What's going on, Myka, man?
I am good. We are back on another Wednesday. I am good. Life's good. How are you?
No complaints. I mean, there's complaints, but you get through it, right?
Yes, sir.
And you persevere. We're on episode 114.
114, and we have a very special guest from the Cashflow Diary, Mr. Jermaine Massey. How are you doing, Jay?
So far, so good. How are you guys?
Yeah, comme ci, comme ça.
Great.
I have no idea what that means, but I'm just going to go, all right. Yeah.
Me neither.
I heard Michael say it too. Still don't know what it means.
Yes. Little French for y'all right there.
Yeah.
Pretty good. Yeah, Jay Massey, man. This is a great honor to meet you and to be on our show. I mean, I've been a fan of yours for a while.
Oh, okay.
And so I've heard you interview some heavy hitters, and you yourself are a heavy hitter from sunny California. And I heard you one time say that you don't mind paying the sunshine tax out there.
No,
Is that
not
true?
at all. Not at all. I love it. Are you kidding me? I have one set of clothing. Do you know how expensive it is to have different sets of clothing because of the temperature?
Mm-hmm.
Well, wait. Yes, you do. And I don't have to worry about that. See, I'm saving money already.
Right now it's like 30 degrees over here.
Wow. No. It's the internet, dude. You can live wherever you want. Just remember that.
Yeah, it was just 80 yesterday. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Can I ask Jay one thing real quick?
Go ahead.
As many things as you'd like.
Okay.
We're gonna have some fun today. I can imagine.
Jay,
Yeah.
what is your superhero power?
I love it. So, interestingly, the superhero power, if you will, it is popularly known as autism and ADHD. I am autistic. I also have ADHD. But when used in its best forms, it's what gives me the ability to learn and adapt really, really fast in certain situations. Now, yes, sometimes I have challenges switching activities, but once I get focused on something, the ability to assimilate that information, break it down, and then repurpose it in a way that not only myself, but others can use, it just happens really, really quickly than what most people would determine in order to achieve any sort of competence with anything that they go and attack, which in today's world, there's no lack of knowledge. There's a lack of wisdom. There's a severe lack of experience, which by using these things, it allows me to experience and taste a number of different businesses and strategies in a very short period of time and develop competency across a wide range of disciplines so that I can then, create ultimately what it is that people need so that they can change their financial future.
Wow.
Man.
I thought you were going to say, wearing tights or something, but that's cool. That's a good answer.
I don't have any more tights. But if you want to send me some, I promise. And I can wear them year round.
Let's need some Live, Let Thrive tighties, some tights. There you go.
There it is. Let's go.
So that's so cool, man, because it seems like you found a way to turn a perceived weakness into a real strength.
Well, isn't every weakness just perception? Same with strengths for that matter. But I didn't even know I had it until I was 43, 44. I didn't even know. What happened is that my son was having some challenges at school. And in the process, the school stated that, hey, we think your son has ADHD. And I'm like, okay, well, what is that? Because I didn't know. And they didn't do a sufficient job of explaining it. And then they backed that up with, yeah, he'll need to get tested, but we can't do the testing for like another 6-10 weeks. And I'm like, So what you're telling me is that the house is on fire and you're just going to let it burn for another 6 to 10 weeks and you're okay with that? And I wasn't. So I decided to, take matters into my own hands, and I started going online and researching, and all of a sudden, I remember the video very clearly. There was a video on YouTube where it was describing it, and it described the condition in such a way that I went, wait a minute, that sounds like me. And then I leaned over to my wife and I said, hey, watch this. And after she watched it, I'm like, is that me? She's like, yeah, I've been trying to tell you. I was like, oh, okay, got it. So yeah, it was definitely a revelation of sorts. I wasn't seeking it. I didn't really know, because, what I've come to learn is that many adults, and especially women, we can go undiagnosed for quite some time because there are certain habits or modes of operation and patterns that we've learned to develop, coping mechanisms, if you will, which can hide some of the more debilitating factors. And I didn't know that. I didn't even know that I was doing those things. But now, in retrospect, with the understanding that I have, it's very, very clear how a lot of things went down, why certain things went down. And now we're able to give my son a completely different viewpoint in order to process himself and the world. So like I said, I didn't know the superpowers were there. They literally evolved, for lack of a better way of putting it. There was no green ring that flew and said, boom, here you go. I didn't get bit by a spider. But through the discovery process and processing and lots of counseling and coaching, I was able to understand, oh, well, that's why this happened. And I was able to do all of those things. And the interesting thing is, a lot of the coping mechanisms that most individuals with ADHD and or autism tend to develop are actually beneficial for nearly every human on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
But because you don't have to, you sometimes just don't do those things.
No, real quick on that note.
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself successful at business before you were able to diagnose yourself at that? And also after the diagnosis, did you change things up and were able to become even more successful?
The answer is yes. Because success is a game. I mean, one of the first challenges that you're presented with when you try to become an entrepreneur is, am I successful? When am I successful? And what you really have to understand is that if you take into account how my wife and I got started in business, we had to play the success game completely differently. Success is it's a psychological thing in a lot of cases. And we, the entrepreneurs, we have to decide when that point comes. So we've been successful for quite a while. And our success is now also defined differently than where it was at the beginning. At the beginning, it could have been, depending on where you're starting, and I know it was for us, I got out of bed. Yay, I was a success. And when you begin to play with the rules of what success means, you can stack win after win after win and be like DJ Khaled. All I do is win, And when you understand that, you have a shot at actually propelling yourself just from your own positive created momentum, not due to any external factors, to doing more than you probably even thought you were capable of. And that's when it gets really tough, because once you've exceeded what you thought was your mountaintop, having to redefine it and find another definition that continues to stretch you, that's not as easy to do unless you're hanging around individuals who honestly do more than what you do, so that you can at least have some sort of understanding, but the definition of success should continually evolve. If it doesn't evolve, then I would actually be concerned for that person.
Man, you really went deep, man. So I'm digging this, man. So
would you prefer Surface Workbook?
Deep all the way.
I could do that too if you want.
Nah, keep it deep, man. So I want to know, because you talking about success and your wife's businesses. So what got you guys involved in short-term rentals?
Oh, great question. Actually wasn't even something we were looking for, but oftentimes the solution that you're looking for is usually outside of your vision anyway. So that's not abnormal. We got involved in short-term rentals because, let me see, we had, I don't know, 450 or so apartment units, and mortgages, cell phone towers, commercial real estate. And I didn't have anything to do. But at the same time, I was investing a lot of time in teaching and instructing individuals, and that felt great. But one of the things that was bugging me is that I didn't have a way, despite having all this property and all these things, I didn't have a way to create any jobs locally here in Southern California, because a lot of the portfolio at the time was in Colorado, Georgia, Tennessee, Michigan, and, other states, which is great. I was bringing, economy there and opportunity there. But when I'd go to church, I didn't see any change, there was no direct benefit in that sense. And then probably what made it really bad is that when my kids would go to school, they would, when someone would ask them, what does your dad do? Their response, and I wish I was making this up, but their response was, my dad's a YouTube star. And I'm like, that's not quite right. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you do, great, awesome, provide value however you can. The marketplace will tell you what to do. But I wanted them to have a deeper understanding of exactly what it was that I did. And so I started looking for local businesses, something that they could participate in. It was around that time one of my existing students came to me and just simply said, Jay, you taught us to raise capital. Thank you. And we didn't do what you said to do with the money. Now, having done this for a while, meaning teaching people, I've learned to take a deep breath and try to calm myself when people tell me that we didn't do what you said to do. Here's what we did instead. Because oftentimes that it doesn't go well. Okay, it just doesn't. This time they just basically said, here's what we were doing. And at the time they were doing student housing, and then they had raised some capital and started doing short-term rentals. And I'm like, okay, so what's the confusion? Because I'm like, student housing, that's great, it's very profitable. Well, they were like, well, the income that we're earning from student housing is starting to pale in comparison to the amount of work, time, effort, energy, and income that we're earning from doing this, short-term rental thing. And I'm like, okay, this is easy. It's an easy decision, guys. Let's just look at the numbers. The numbers will tell us what to do. So we get to one of my favorite hot dog places over in Long Beach. And you got to understand, growing up in Germany, there aren't many places that can make a good bratwurst, and that matters. Okay. So that's one of the reasons we were going there, because I'm like, cool, I'm going to get me some bratwurst. This is great. So I'm looking forward to the hot dog, and my frame of mind is it's going to be just like every other time someone's bringing me something, right? Anyway, we order, we sit down. While we're waiting on the food, because again, I want to focus on the bratwurst, because that's kind of what I'm thinking. They bust out the Excel sheet because I'm gonna knock this thing out, get to my bratwurst. We're gonna have a great day. I start looking at the sheet and I go dead silent for a long time. And I don't know what was on my face, but what was ever on my face caused them to go, are you okay? What's wrong? What is it? And I just started asking them small little questions like, is this every month? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay. And how long have you been doing this? they just kept asking. And then I just said to them, I was like, I don't even think you understand what you have here. And they're like, because they weren't sure, is that good or is that bad? Because I wasn't giving away any sort of emotion. Now, mind you, this entire time, the bratwurst is already on the table. So it's sitting there, but this Excel sheet has my attention and I cannot turn away from it because I do not believe what I am looking at. And really long story short, I just tell them, I was like, okay, not only do you have something good here, but this is so good. And this is the only time I've ever said that. This is so good. I'm going to do it. It's that good. And in fact, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to help you do it better. So that's really what happened. And today they have well over 100 different locations using arbitrage, et cetera, which is great. And they've since expanded into purchasing hotels. It's awesome. They're doing fine. But what arrested my attention, especially away from that bratwurst, was simply the fact that I saw the net operating incomes and GRMs that mimicked what the Midwest could do in the United States, as well as maybe anywhere in the Midwest, maybe the North or sometimes the South. Because when I was looking at the numbers, I was like, oh my goodness, if I can get those same kind of stats but have higher quality real estate out here, I would do that. And then I was like, how many jobs am I going to create in the process? I'm like, this is literally the answer to what I'm looking for. Now, it didn't come in a package that I was expecting, but it's still the answer. And now fast forward to today, having proven it, and I've now know beyond every shadow of every doubt, anyone considering owning or trying to get into real estate long term, this is the strategy they need to practice first, because you don't even think about the comparisons, and I can go into that, but there is no better way to start a real estate career. If you're planning for longevity anyway, there's no better way to start a real estate career, in my opinion, than this particular strategy. And I don't care if you're going to fix and flip or land. I really don't care what the strategy is. I now call short-term rentals the gateway drug to everything else.
I love that. And right when right that part right there, it just made me think, because as Myka alluded to earlier, I've my Airbnbs, they're starting to shut down Airbnbs and ban it here in North Texas, which is where we're at. Okay. And so yeah, a couple of mine got banned recently. Anyways, I turned them into long-term rentals. And like you said, the proving ground is short-term rentals. And when you said that, I thought about immediately like my house down the way here in Hurst, Texas. The new tenants said, hey, the garage door, it's not responding, blah, blah, blah. And my thoughts right away, oh yeah, I'll be right over, or I'll send someone over. And you can come over Thursday. No, there's no hurry on it. And I'm like, I'm already used to like, oh, Airbnb, you got to fix it right away. You got to get this, you got the next guest coming in. Right. But then I'm transitioning back to long-term. I'm like, oh yeah, this is freaking nothing compared to short-term rentals.
Correct. There's so many things that you've learned to deal with. You get so much more exposure to different situations, different personalities. Your screening process is probably way better than it ever has been. Oh yeah. I mean, there are so many benefits. And here's the craziest part of it all. When you go out there to buy a piece of real estate, just think about this for a second. You go out there to buy a piece of real estate. Most people do not spend all cash. I'm not saying that you should, okay? Let's also be clear there. But most people don't, which means they usually have some form of financing. That is not 12-month financing. It is typically, let's call it 30 years. Maybe you did 25, maybe you did 15. You are making a 15-year commitment on the front end when your experience is as low as it has ever been and will ever be. And you're upfront going in for 15, 25, 30 years. Do you realize that what I'm saying is a 12-month commitment versus 15, 25, 30 years, just on that one point alone? I mean, dude, marriages don't last as long as these mortgages. I'm just saying. Yeah. And you take way more time to decide that one, like way more. And when if you stop and just do the math and start to think about some of the decisions that you're making along this way on your journey, I gotta have a piece of real estate. Yeah, you do, but how you get there makes all the difference on your experience, And all I'm asking people to do is, can you please delay it just a little bit? Just delay that gratification, another 12, another 24, another 36 months. And you'll be in such a better position to be able to own it, operate it, control it, and do everything. And to your point about the people shutting things down, I still wonder, like, why did you turn it back into long-term rentals? You didn't have to do that, because I would rather turn it into an extended stay, because in most jurisdictions, and fortunately, because of the number of students we've got, I've had exposure to nearly every continent and trying to deal with, these types of situations. But I'll just keep it to the US for now. The one thing that whoever they are, cannot stop is your month-to-month contract. And here's why. Because even in that long-term lease, whatever your tenant just signed, I'm reasonably certain that you have a clause that says if for some reason you guys don't physically redo a brand new lease agreement, it probably converts to a 30-day agreement. Mm-hmm. Most jurisdictions, and again, this is US wide, there's nothing they can do if your customer is staying 30 days at a time. Just because you happen to acquire your customer from a website that they don't like, that's not that they can't do anything about that. That has nothing to do with, what you're doing. All I'm saying is you've already set up what you've set up. Don't sacrifice what you've set up, because what you set up is valuable. And now what you have to do is change your marketing, which is way easier than going back to whatever traditional looks like, because you've learned the difference between wholesale and retail. And I'm just encouraging you to stay on the retail side, because there's a lot of velocity, and that's what matters today. There's a lot of velocity on the retail side when it comes to the velocity on your capital, because you still have to compete against bad fiscal policy, bad foreign relations, bad monetary policy. And these are things none of us individually can control, but we have to pay the price for it. And if we're not playing proper defense against it, it's gonna hurt. And sometimes the best defense is a really, really, really aggressive offense. And that's where this strategy comes into play, especially when we start talking about just the math and the numbers. The numbers always make more sense as a short-term rental, like always, even if they only stay 30 days at a time.
Good point. Good point.
Man, you drop it. That's I definitely would have.
It's my everyday, bro. This is what I do.
It's what I do.
I mean, you got to understand, I've been wanting to create a path for individuals. There's nothing in my pedigree that says what has happened to myself and my wife should happen. There was nothing. Like, I mean, I it's going to sound like a rap song, but I come from areas where, you don't bounce a ball, sing a song, or play with white powder, you're not getting out. And I got out. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm like, oh, and all of these things come together to create a very unique opportunity. Technology has never been such that anybody if you have the capacity to hear and or watch this today, you have the opportunity to do what we're talking about. You're not excluded. That's the thing. 1940s, 50s, and 60s, it was hard for people who look like me to go get a loan and buy a house. Mm-hmm. We are still feeling the effects of that, because when you can't purchase real estate, it happens and it affects you intergenerationally for a long time. We got a lot of catching up to do. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how getting a job ain't gonna catch nobody up. And that's the problem. What we're told is that this is how you do it. I would just submit that maybe, just maybe, what you were told, what you've accepted without questioning, it might not be true. And one thing I know, everything that you didn't know, don't know, it can, will, and always has hurt you. Mm-hmm. And you've got to find places like this podcast in order to find it out. That takes extra work. And no one's paying you $8 an hour or $15 an hour, whatever it is per hour to do it. And in fact, I kind of wish people would get away from that. If you just learn to build, create, and own and control assets, man, your life would change.
So what put you on that path? Because did you start off like with a regular career path, college, and then get a job and all that stuff? And what switched you to that?
So I tried college. I wish I'd never been. Okay, let's just put that out there. All right. Yeah, that did not go well. So and it took me like 6-7 years to figure out I shouldn't be there.
Whoa.
Anyway, it was not the place to be. So all right, let's just throw that there. And what happened is a strange set of circumstances. Okay. I was trying to do something in that traditional sense. All right. And I started out as I was a financial planner. I was doing insurance and financial planning. And then my wife, when she's pregnant, she has a condition known as hyperemesis. It just basically means that when she's pregnant, now you got to hear this, when she's pregnant, she cannot eat or drink normal food. She just can't, which freaked us out. Like, because I'm like, what do you mean you can't eat? You're pregnant. You're supposed to be eating more. I can't eat. I'm throwing up. She almost died 3 times.
Oh my God.
It was very scary. Okay. We happened to live near one of the 2 hospitals at the time in the entire country that actually had a treatment, experimental treatment, mind you, for her condition. Yeah. So obviously we go to the hospital, and during that process, I got stressed out. So I went to go play volleyball. I grew up playing basketball. If you're wondering, or if you're someone who's like, yes, I can dunk a basketball. If you've not done it, okay, you should try. It's fun. It feels great. All right. And in the process of volleyball, I went up to spike. I hit the ball, did all that fine, but I landed on a guy's head. That was the part that didn't go so well, and punctured my lung. Oh. I was born with asthma, and I didn't develop a condition known as pleurisy. Those 2 combined meant I could not walk and talk simultaneously without fainting. So understand, this was my abject lesson right here. My wife can't eat or drink. I can't walk or talk. We still got to pay bills. How? Because of what I was told. Let's go to school, get good grades, get a job. I got the job. I was getting licenses, doing it a different way. That was awesome. But now I physically couldn't do anything, and neither could she. It was the first time I learned a very painful but yet powerful lesson. None of you, myself included, no one needs a job. You do need a source of income. 2 different things. We are taught often that income comes from a job. No, income is just a representation of the value that you've created. You've chosen to create value in a certain way under a certain regime and mantra. And therefore, you go, I'll get a job. Is it the path of least resistance? Absolutely. Until that system lets you down. Most people don't find out about that letdown until much later in life. We got the gift of finding out much sooner. And that's what I call it today. It was the gift of finding out way sooner. And I promise you, it's not like I was looking for it. I thought we were, I'm doing the financial planning thing. We had just bought a condo. We were going I was like, finally, yes. And then it was like, no, because that wasn't enough. 6 to 10 months of expenses set aside wasn't enough. It just wasn't. And I didn't know that, but I got to experience it firsthand. And then we started, I just did whatever I knew I could do. So I started selling our personal possessions on eBay. And then I got a little smarter and realized there was a store at the time, CompUSA, that was going out of business. So I started buying their inventory. So as they were going out of business, I would buy their inventory at 50, 60, 70% off. I just put it on eBay. But I was creating value because I was exposing that same item to a larger market. Mm-hmm. And then people would buy it. And then they could buy it also at a discount still to retail. And I was like, okay, this works. And then one day a friend said, hey, you should get involved in real estate investing. I'm like, okay, you got any money? Because I don't. And in fact, I have a credit score of 398. That's what I got. What you got? You know? And I know for some people, they're like, 398. I didn't know it went that low. Yep, I understand. I'm all about setting records. That's my job. That's what I do. So, you know, and that was just the situation. And unfortunately, as humans, often when we're presented with an opportunity, what we do typically by nature, how we are raised, etc., we will often think of all the things we don't have before we can take advantage of something that's presented to us. Anytime a move forward happens, the first thing that comes up is, I don't have any money. I don't have any credit. I've never done that before. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, dude, I didn't ask you if you know it. I said, have you ever considered getting involved in real estate investing? That's a yes, I have, or no, I haven't. And, you know, I didn't go to college. Wonderful. Have you ever considered getting involved in real estate investing though? You know, answer that question, because that's the only thing that I'm asking at that, you know, particular moment in time. And that's when I began to learn. You know, I was creating value on eBay, and then, believe it or not, the very first strategy that I started having success with when it came to real estate was wholesaling, because I did not know what I did not know. And did you know that it's just like, I don't know, buying houses at a discount, then selling them to a larger market also at a discount, which sounds exactly like what I was doing at CompUSA. I was like, why didn't somebody tell me this sooner? I mean, obviously, if I could figure out how to do it with a cell phone, I can figure out how to do it with a house. And it was honestly less risk to do it with the house, because there was a lot more people who wanted the house than the cell phone at any given moment in time, you know? And you made more money. There were more commas, more zeros. I'm like, well, duh. So I just set out to master that. And that's how I learned that the marketplace cares. What value can you provide? See, if I said it a different way, many of you, just think about this. If you're going to the emergency room, how many of you have ever, keyword ever, I'm being superlative and strong for a reason, how many of you are bleeding, you're hurt, you're walking into the emergency room, you go up to that desk, was your first question, hey doc, what school did you go to? Did you get an A in biology? Okay, let me see, can I see your report card, your balance sheet, your income statement? Do you even know what you're doing? You didn't even ask, because the only thing that mattered is that you believed the person dressed in the white coat or scrubs could solve your problem. That's what we're talking about. The moment you decide you have the capacity to provide value to another human, that's the moment your business becomes valuable, period. And as soon as you understand that, then it's about learning the skill sets. Okay, how do I get my value to, how do I transfer that to another human? And that's really all that we're still doing today. We're just doing it in a different way with more scale and skill. That's it. And now we take the time to also teach it, which is, again, another skill and at scale. That's really it. And it's a lot of fun.
Man, nice. Like you really blew my mind, man. I'm call you like the Master P of real estate, man. You really. So
that's a new one.
Like I got a couple questions for you. First off, because you said you grew up in Hardware, where are you from, and did you get in? And were you into apartment syndication? You said you had 400 some units, and
got it.
Yeah.
Born Fort Bragg, North Carolina, also known as Fayetteville, if you will. Which again, like that's why I was saying it's going to start to sound like a rap song here in a second. And then I grew up overseas in Germany, military kid. As far as the apartments go, yeah. So I was often the person putting them together. at the end of the day. So we used all kinds of various creative strategies, etc., in order to make that happen. That's how I gained my experience in a lot of ways. So at one time we had a few hundred houses, got rid of those, then got a lot of mortgages, got rid of those. Then, started brokering mortgages. We then stopped doing that. And eventually what happened is when I got introduced to the tax man, it was like, wow, that's a lot of money in taxes. I don't want to do that anymore. How do I not?
Y'all have to pay taxes in Southern California?
Was that?
Y'all have to pay taxes in Southern California?
Oh, yeah, all kinds of taxes, bro. We invent new ones every day. Don't worry. And then we export them to Texas. Because see, what happens is when it gets crazy over here, we move to your state and bring our taxes with us.
That is true.
That's really what happens. So, you put all that together. And I've just always been trying to solve a problem. That's all. That's really it. And even short-term rentals, that's all it is. It's solving a problem. There's a need in the marketplace, and the marketplace will find a way to fulfill that need.
Dude, man, you really, man, you blowing my mind. You said a lot of stuff. So, all right. So, like right now, where are you operating your short-term rentals out of right now?
We're in Los Angeles. We're in Fullerton, California, Irvine, California, and Long Beach, California.
Man, and so you're just staying strictly in Southern California. You don't plan on expanding out?
Oh, no. The entire reason I built the system was inspired because I was working with some partners on building a hotel internationally. When I decided to leave that project, I still wanted to do that, but I wanted to do it a different way, if that makes sense. So the entire reason I built the system was to begin to test how I could build a system so that it didn't take over my life, still provided the quality of life I wanted with the income level that I wanted, but also could be done long distance, quote unquote. So it's been we have steadily been increasing the distance between home base and our actual locations. So this year, the intent is to get to 75 beds. And once we have those 75 beds, we'll start going outside of the state to other locations. Some of the ones that we have looked at so far are Fort Bragg, Atlanta, Philadelphia. Those have been some of the ones that we have been, Salt Lake City as well. So we've been looking at a number of different locations of where are we going to go set up shop next? Plus, at this stage, we now have a number of students almost in every place we've gone to even think about. So it should be quite interesting and fun.
So you alluded to people come to you, they want to get into real estate. And so your suggestion, of course, would be the short-term rental first. Yes. And then get into purchasing. So is that kind of like your model? You start people off arbitraging first.
Yep.
And then they start using the profits to buy real estate.
Yeah, because step one is that you just gotta. I mean, dude, you put one together. You know how much work that is. So you got to learn that. Let's just get you one. That is what we call phase one. Learn to get one. If you can learn to get one. And understand this simple principle that real estate's a skill, just like tying your shoe, you're good, because that's the first hurdle. If you learn to get one, then getting 10 is do what you did to get 1 10 times. That in its simplest form. It's not that hard. However, as you get to 10 and then 20 and then more, your systems have to mature and evolve. There are things you can do when it's right next door, close to you and within driving distance, that you cannot get away with if it's not within driving distance. And you need to have systems in place to help make that easy. And most importantly, the experience for the guest needs to be great. So you have to learn how to scale those things. And then once you get to a certain point, your free cash flow that you have on a monthly, quarterly basis, you have different needs as it relates to cash flow management. Cash management is key, and being able to understand how to do that and separate it so that if the business disappears tomorrow, you can at least point to something and go, well, okay, got it. All that happened. And instead of saying, and I have nothing to show for it, you can make sure that you have something to show for it. And what you learn to do with that excess capital is really important. You know, some people just invest maybe into paper assets or what have you. Some people want to start nonprofits. We've had one student start an RV park, as I mentioned earlier. Others have started to purchase hotels. Some are just purchasing traditional real estate. I don't honestly care what you do. I care that you're in the position to make the choice, that you have that as an option. And that's what I get excited about. So that, because now you have this machine that keeps producing the cash, you now have different options available to you that may have never been available to anyone in your family tree before. That's exciting to me. That's worthwhile to me. That's life changing, family tree changing for you and everyone who comes into contact with you. And that gets me excited. Man,
that kind of have the same lineup as me. What's your end goal with these STRs, man? What's your end goal? Like, is there a number of units, or is there an end goal you want?
Got it. 100 is kind of the plan, because basically I just want to make sure that I have enough beds in force in play to where I can buy I'll say a 20 to 24 unit building in Southern California every 90 days. That's basically it. I mean, if I wanted to, with where we are today, if I wanted to, there are some states where we could just be buying a house a month right now, and, all cash and kind of stuff like that. It's crazy. But the goal is just to have higher quality real estate. That's because that's what I saw when I looked at that Excel sheet, that very first Excel sheet, while I let my bratwurst get all cold. Anyway, that's what I saw. So I'm like, okay, let's go do that. Let's make sure that we can, collect the highest quality real estate we can and make it cash flow. And it's not anything different than what McDonald's does today. It's just the poor man's way of being like McDonald's. That's really what we've got. And I'm just trying to take advantage of the opportunity that's currently in the marketplace. There was somebody, and there are places like this all over the world. And here's what I mean. There are some cities, there are some neighborhoods, there are some, areas of town where every one of us lives. There's a reason, like out here, there's a city called Irvine. And that city, Irvine, is because of two brothers, James Irvine. It's just, and he used to own it all and figured out how to put himself in a position so that he could. And then figured out how much of it to give away and how much of it to keep and how to structure things so that it stayed in the family. Okay, why can't I do that? So that's really what
you heard it here first. Massey, California, coming at you.
Well, what's funny is that back home in Fayetteville, or the Fayetteville area, there's a place called Massey Hill. I'm like, okay. Now, it ain't the greatest neighborhood at the moment, but that's a whole nother story. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So these are thoughts that come through my head only because they're iterative. I didn't start out thinking like what you hear me saying today, right? The goal originally is like, can I get my bank account balance to be zero? That would be great. Understand, if it was zero, that was an improvement. It would have been awesome. And as I've continued to get better, iterative thoughts come to my brain that are bigger and more challenging than the last one. And I'm like, cool, let's keep going. Cool, let's keep going. Cool. How many more people can we bring with us? And that's all that's happened. And, but if you take the time to look for opportunities in the marketplace that can create a situation in which you can own enough land to end up one day, maybe, with a city that's like bears your family last name, it's possible. I mean, dude, you're in Texas. Y'all still got land, a lot of it.
Real.
So I wanted to ask you, I guess 2-part question, but like, first of all, how the hell did you get so good at systems? Because most people in every walk of business struggle with systems, but it seems like you kind of got it under control. And after you talk about that a little bit, talk about my favorite new thing that I heard on your last podcast, the SOP. Standard operating procedures. I love it. Okay.
Okay, got it.
Ready to go.
Totally understood. Yeah. Okay, so SOPs, I learned those because military kid, and my dad would say SOPs. I'm like, what is SOP? I mean, because trust me, I did not feel like doing whatever it was he wanted me to do. But there's standard operating procedure. There's a standard way to clean the bathroom, make your bed, fold the. I was like, okay. So resisted like the plague, and yet now my entire business is built on the darn thing. Anyway, but so that's where I first learned the term and understood what they were and their importance to a well-functioning organization. As far as how did I get good at systems, this is back to the whole autism thing. All of us with autism are really insanely good at a small number of things. This is just one of those things that I am insanely good at seeing and understanding and optimizing and improving at all the times. They're just easy for me to see. Now, I'm not the best manager of them, but I can build them, make them, see them clearly. And then we hire other people to help with the management part of actually running them and whatnot. But I don't have like a 12-step ebook that could somehow even get close to saying it. I just know I ask a lot of questions, very curious. And again, because I've been able to take things from so many different places, so many different areas, it allows me to reassemble those things in a more efficient manner later when needed. So that's the best answer I got, though.
Sweet.
Right.
You mentioned on your podcast too that you are a facilitator of the Kiyosaki. What's that game? Cashflow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How did that come about?
Well, what happened is that's what I first got exposed to. I didn't read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad first. I was playing the board game, and then again, you'll notice a pattern. So the first time I played the board game, we went over to a friend's house at about 6 p.m, and we didn't leave their house until 4 a.m. because I needed, you don't understand, my brain needed to keep playing. I needed to keep playing. There was more to understand here. There was more to learn here. I needed to understand it all and now. So that's what happened. And then as we were leaving, my wife and I turned to her and we were like, if we can do that in a game, maybe we can do that in real life. That's what it started. And so we started looking in the newspapers, E-Trade, everything. And it sounds so simple, but this is literally what we did. We looked for stories that sounded like the same stories that we read on the cards. And we're like, okay, cool. I see the stories. It matches. This is the same. They're using the same words. This is great.
Hey, could you explain the game real quick to people that don't know what it is?
Sure. So basically, it's a simulation of real life in a lot of ways, where you have your paycheck, you have a job, you've got expenses, and with the money that's left over every month, you have to make decisions on which assets to buy. Is now the time to buy the asset? Is this a good asset for you to buy? With the goal of producing cash flow. That's the entire premise. Learn to use what you have to produce cash flow. And so as you're going around, some of the cards give you simulated experiences of deals that are available in every marketplace. And what happens is when you're reading it, there's a little backstory. And that's what was happening. I was reading those backstories and then looking in the newspaper and online and anywhere we could to see if we found a backstory that matched. And if we did, we're like, cool. All right. So if we had pulled this card in the game, what would we do? Well, we would buy it. Okay. Well, then I guess we should buy it. That was like our extensive due diligence, by the way. So, and that's what we did. And then my wife found a couple of them. I mean, we had Netflix, man. I don't even want to tell you what we had Netflix at. Okay. I'm just not even going to say it. I'm not going to tell you what we had Ford at. I'm not going to tell you. Okay. I'm just not even going to tell you. Many of y'all don't even remember Palm Computing, and I'm not even going to say anything. I'm just going to say that my wife found a number of them. Okay. And one of the ones, she actually talked me into holding it long enough to where we literally got 1,000%. Now that's crazy. Whoa. And I'm like, oh my God, this is real. It works. And it worked for me. Yay. What else don't I know? You know? And that's basically what happened. Hey, what else don't I know? Let's go find out. And consuming information, figuring it out over and over and over again. And but also applying it. There's a book out there by Jeff Olson called The Slight Edge. And what you have to understand is that the J you see before you today is compound interest upon decisions like this over, I don't know, 20 years now, 16, 17, 18 years now. These types of decisions have been going on since 2003. Okay. And they've compounded to today that results in, you know, millions of downloads on a podcast and hundreds of thousands of people across the globe who we've helped and everything, you know. So that's really what it is. But it's small moves, small decisions over time, compounded, that result. You can't beat compound interest, even on your decisions when you start making them. It's great.
You got more questions, Mike? I got one.
Oh no, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever. Bring it on, man.
See,
yeah.
we keep it real on the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When I listened to your last podcast, and it's kind of like you're doing like I guess kind of a webinar or something, you know, Q&A.
Yeah, definitely. We tend to do Q&As a lot for our students, and we'll make snippets of those Q&As available for the public to hear and listen in on.
And I had to bounce to your website real quick because I didn't think I heard it correctly. But what you're saying,
I'm in trouble.
Bad. It's just surprising. And so when you were telling people, you know, you can help them out and, you know, get them started, get them on the path, and then you threw out a number. You said $9.97 a month, and I was like, you know, $10 a month. That ain't bad. And so I jumped to the website, and it was $997 a month, and I was like, to me, that's like, whoa, you know. But then I started doing the math a little bit, and I was like, okay, if it's gonna put them on the path to wealth, you know, that's chump change. But anyway,
right.
But to be bold enough, I guess my question is, what gave you the balls to ask for $997 a month from people and know that that's a good price and that you could get that?
He knows his worth.
I love it. Okay, this is good. Okay, all right. So I love that you asked that. First, before I answer, let me say that by the time people listen to this, the price will likely have already increased, so that we're clear. $9.97 is actually the lowest price you will ever see it for. It is actually being increased. And it'll still be worth it because it's a bargain. So and let me tell you why though. See, let's talk about the promise of college. The promise of college is, and I'm just going to use it in real words. Hey, let us charge you for a significant amount of information given to you by individuals who have never practiced it however, wrote the book so that based upon theory of what they think might work, and once you go out into the workforce, after paying us and getting your receipt, which we call a diploma, then you can come back and tell us, did it work? Okay? I'm just saying, for most degrees, that's exactly how it goes. Now, if you're a doctor, architect, anything that requires a license, it's a little different because there's usually some sort of apprenticeship. It's different. So for those of you who are ready to write and send some pitchforks, stop. I understand there's a difference for some of y'all. All right. All you nurses, when I come into the emergency room, please help me because I know. All right. For you guys, it's different. But for the rest of you who aren't that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. So here's what I'm saying. If you could just pretend for a second, just hypothetically speaking, let's pretend that you could have been there when, I don't know, I'll use some, let's say you could have been there when Bill Gates was first getting started. And you said, you know what, Bill, I'm good. I'm gonna go do my thing. But then today, Bill Gates comes to you and says, hey, I developed a program and I'm going to train anyone willing on being able to do what I have done and how to do that in today's market, regardless of where you are geographically. And all you have to do is come up with $1 million a month. You realize he would have way too many people who would find a way to make that happen?
Easy.
Simply because the results are undeniable. You know what you're getting, and he's being very clear about it. Because what he's offering you, that doesn't mean it's not expensive. But again, expense is just usually another way of saying, I wish I had the money. I mean, that's really what that is. And what you have to understand is, I am very clear of what it's worth. And that's what we used to do. For example, I have programs right now that and I've been paid $150,000 for 90 days of my time. Not everybody can do that. It's too exclusionary. So I was looking for a way to take that level of service and make it more affordable for more people. Okay. And that's really what we're talking about here is, how can I make it more affordable for more people at scale? Because when I go back and I look at the database of individuals that I have helped who have had individual one-on-one attention or group attention or high levels of touch, not just automated courses, high levels of touch. When I look at those individuals specifically, those individuals are the ones that we have successfully helped get to the 7-figure level. Mm-hmm. That is what they have in common. They've had exposure to a different way of thinking, an evolution of thinking, how I think about things, how I do certain things, how I've taught my team to do certain things. And then they were able to adapt it, assimilate it, then come back and ask questions and continually improve themselves also over time. And those individuals, let's just say they paid more than $9.97 a month to get that information, and they still tell me it was too cheap. And they're right, because on the other end, you tell me, yeah, $9.97 a month may sound like a lot, but compared to what? Where are you going to go today in the world and be able to work with anyone that not only has been able to grow multiple different things to 7 figures, but has helped other people do the same, and is willing to take the time to teach your knucklehead on how to do it. Because you got to understand, it's a lot of work transforming humans. That is not easy. The tactical of what to do is, that's what books are for. That's what videos are for. Learning to be accountable, learning to step into a different level of integrity, learning to then provide jobs to other people, learning to navigate the shifting winds of politicians and ordinances. And just think about what I said to you at the beginning of this episode. How much is that one idea? Hey, bro, don't go back to wholesaling your real estate. Just do 30 days at a time or longer contracts and change your marketing. I didn't charge you anything for that, but I can tell you what that idea is worth. Millions of dollars. Mm-hmm. That's just one idea. My superpower is the fact that I can't stop the ideas from coming. And that's the biggest challenge I have. And then I have to choose 2 or 3 and I implement those. And then people bring me their problems and I help them implement theirs, their solutions, so that they can get the lifestyle that they want. There's no company that I'm aware of. There's no job that I've seen. I've not seen this on Indeed or Monster. I don't even know if Monster's still around, whatever. I've not seen them where it goes, hey, work here and we will help you be financially free so that if you want to take 4 months of vacation, you absolutely can. The number one asset every one of you listening to my voice have is time. And you've been selling it too cheaply. And I know that. Not many people are willing to tell you it though, because they're after your money. If I wanted to get paid what this thing was worth, Jesus, be a lot more than $9.97 a month.
Plus, you get a free TV.
No, all right. I totally. I'm just like, whatever. Let's give them something. I was like, whatever, here, because I know some people, they just need that. They just need a. Yeah. What do if I pay in full? Do I get something? Yeah, you can have a TV here.
Now, are those the TVs you still got left over from CompUSA?
Oh, right. No. No. We buy new ones and we send them to people. So yeah, that's all. That's all.
But if you think about it, it's not a bad deal because just a few years back, a TV like that cost $10,000 anyway. So boom, there you go.
Crazy. But more importantly, understand the real value proposition here. If you get one unit, like one, the idea of you being able to have net income of $12,000 across a year on one unit, rephrase. If you don't have net income of $12,000 in one unit, we have a completely different thing to talk about. Okay? So understand, it's not that quote unquote risky of a proposition. It's risky in the sense of when you and I went to kindergarten and high school and college, they said, oh, no. Before you go get the job, you have to complete the course. Yeah, if I was saying that would be risky. Way more risky than what I want you to do. I want you to do what Jeff Olson talks about in his book. I want you to learn one idea and then later that day, go implement it and then come back and then learn the next idea and go implement it and come back. And when you do it that way, we have too many people who have done exactly that. And inside of 30 days, not only do they knock down 1, but 2 and 3 and 4 and more units, which at that point, they really don't care what it costs because they're experiencing change and transformation on a level that's just very practical and unfortunately isn't very common.
So this is a 1-year program?
Yeah, but learning is a lifelong thing.
Correct.
But yeah, it's currently structured as a 12-month program. Correct.
So what I'm seeing in my head over here, because I'm a little bit like you, it's all over the place. But for the institutionalized like myself used to be, and most of us, and go to school, go to college, get the diploma, whatever. If you could give the people on the fence about this kind of program, if you can throw in, hey, you get a diploma at the end, make them a little, print them out a little diploma, boom, your signups would go through the roof.
Yeah, totally. If you want a certificate, I will make you a certificate. Come on in. Come on again. I'm gonna put live and let thrive on it. Everything. I promise. I will sign it.
I don't need a
copy.
If I'm making money like that, I don't need no certificate.
My point exactly. That's my entire point.
997. That's like nothing.
You gotta understand. We have a collection of stories. This is not my first go at helping humans transform, and we have a collection of stories from literally all over the globe where people have said things to us like, "Hey, Jay, I was able to go home because of your systems and training and the way that you've helped me to implement my short-term rental business. I was able to go home to Thailand for the first time for an entire month and the business still ran. Thank you." That's transformational for them because they've only heard about that happening to other people. And until it happens to you, you're like, man, that sounds like a lot of money. But once it happens, you're like, dude, what else does he got? You know, that's really what happens. Because that's literally how it's designed, right? It's designed to help you become an independent business owner that knows how to read the tea leaves and take care of your family, because most people are trading their time, most valuable asset, for currency, an asset whose value is going down by the second because they keep printing more. Mm-hmm. And you end up doing it for reasons that aren't as important to you. And I want more people to live closer to their values. That's what I can do to make the world better. I can enable you to live closer to your values. And to be clear, for those of you who are like anti-capital, how dare you make a profit? Here's what I want to tell you very clearly. Even if all you want to do is free Willy and hug trees, freeing Willy and hugging trees ain't free. Somebody still has to pay for that, right? And it can be you with profit or not. Or you can keep hoping that someone is going to randomly feel nice about your cause and make it happen. It's a choice. And I choose to empower people so that they have the choice as opposed to hoping. Hope ain't a good strategy all the time. Didn't work for me when we were squatting in bank-owned property. The cavalry did not come. Still not here. They're not coming. And you can do something about it because despite all our problems, you still live in the United States of America for many of you. And I know for those of you who are not, you're trying to get here, and I got that. I'm with you. I understand. Because no matter how bad it looks on the news, whether you realize it or not, we still have it way better compared to the entire rest of the world. That doesn't mean we're perfect. We got it all straightened out. Because we don't. We got issues. Some of them bad, but it's still better.
I gotta ask something about one of my favorite catchphrases of yours.
Uh-oh.
It is move at the speed of instruction. I love that. Where did that come from?
I know, right? So I don't even remember what happened. I really don't. It just came out one day and kind of stuck because I was getting frustrated. You'll find that a lot of things are born out of my frustration. And I'm like, I'm frustrated. What can I do about it? Because oftentimes, here's one of the things that was happening is that people were asking me, this was way back when I was just really, really bored. And I would just show up to things and teach for free because it was something to do. I didn't have anything to do. And for those of you wondering, how come he doesn't teach for free anymore? It's because many of y'all took advantage of the time and you thought you actually owned my time, and that got on my nerves. And I actually thought, hey, if I charge you money, you'd leave me alone. But I was wrong. And that's okay. But here's what it comes down to. I was trying to help people. And this was probably the most frustrating thing ever. You are contributing your most valuable asset, time. You are listening. For those of you who are still listening to this podcast right now, I am talking to you. You were listening, giving your most valuable asset. Your question was, Jay, how do I do X, Y, and Z? I respond, do 1, 2, 3. And then your next answer to me was, but I heard you should do 4, 5, and 6. What about that? And I'm like, okay, maybe I missed something, but I'm answering your question, not from theory, not from, gee, I wonder if that would work, but from here's what I did to achieve what you said you wanted. I did 1, 2, and 3. Now, 4, 5, and 6, that may work. I don't know. Nor do I care. Nor should you care. You should care about 1, 2, and 3, because here's the closing statement from the 200 transactions that I just did that got me 1, 2, and 3. Now, if you want to experiment with something completely different, you are more than welcome to do so. However, when you ask me how to do something and I respond directly, from my perspective, the only thing that you need to do is to move at the speed of instruction, which leaves no room for your better idea, which is currently unproven, right? Now, after you make $1 million, here's what you can do. Whatever you want. And that's just how I see it. You know, we ask people, teachers, instructors, we buy these courses and information. Why did you buy it? If you wanted to invent your own way of getting there, then you didn't need the course in the first place. You know, that's how I see it. And so it's there to help people relax, because the other side of that coin is, do either of you have children?
Yes, sir.
Does either of you have a daughter?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How old is she?
I have a 12-year-old, 2.5-year-old, and 3-month-old.
Now, imagine if your 12-year-old, this is going to be so great. So great. Imagine if we're done with this recording, she comes to you today, totally stressing, wigging out like they do. Because she says to you, Daddy, I need my wedding dress now. What's going through your head? Think about that question.
Just crazy.
Yeah, like, honey, what? I mean, because there's have there been some steps that have been skipped? Some things are a little out of order, right? Right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, hold on, wait a minute, honey. Why do you need? I mean, like, why is she all? Why do you need your wedding dress now? I've got all kinds of questions, right? But to her, it is real. I need the wedding dress right now, today. I cannot move forward. I cannot leave the spot. I need to know, and you need to tell me. Like, hold on, wait a minute. Who is he? Who are you talking about? Like, what do you need to wedding dress? Where's the wedding happening? I'm sorry, I missed a few things, right? And this happens all the time when we're learning something new that could potentially have a large impact, like real estate, and means a lot to us. We feel like we have to know what's going to happen on the third Tuesday after the second blue moon to our cousin twice removed who we've never talked to. And we can't take the first step until we know. And that's not how it's going to work for you, people. It's just not. Because, I mean, Mike Tyson said it best. Everybody's got a plan till you get punched in the face. Mm-hmm. Period. Step in the ring. Boom. Oh, wait a minute. What I was going to do isn't going to work. You're right. But Jay, don't I need a business plan? You mean a best guess written and formatted nicely? Got it. Because that's what it is. Oh, no, Jay. I do pro formas. Oh, cool. That's a wild guess. Wonderful. Seriously? That's what it is. Because you don't know. You have no clue what the marketplace is going to give you. You don't know. Well, I'll just hire a property manager who decides one day, I'm done. I don't want to be in business anymore. What do you mean? I don't understand. How can you do that? I mean, there's too many things that change for you to try to plan 12 degrees. Your daughter doesn't need the wedding dress, in my opinion, till just before the wedding march starts to play and she's walking down the aisle. Anytime before then. Now, the ladies who are listening right now are freaking out like, no way. There's no way. I need it way before then. I understand. But you, please hear me. Hear me. My point is simply that oftentimes we put things in the wrong order, believing that until I know this, I can't move. And just think about it very simply. Pretend you were hungry and that the only place to get food is the grocery store. Now, I don't care really where the grocery store is, but you know confidently that the grocery store has food. People have gone to the grocery store before. They're going to let you in. I mean, there's no difference. It's a grocery store. You know, they don't really care. Just, you know, exchange the money, move on. But you say, you know what? I'm not going to leave my house until every light is green. That's when I'll leave my house. Well, I'm here to tell you, if you do that, you'll die in your house, hungry. Because you don't know. You've encountered yellow lights before, red lights, detour signs, and people, construction. You've encountered all of this stuff before. And all I'm asking is, please practice this same understanding. Give yourself that same level of grace that you do when you are driving. You didn't know that the U-turn was going to be there. You didn't know that that light was going to turn red. And when that happened, you didn't turn around, go home, and say, oh, well, grocery stores don't work. You didn't do that because you had to eat. You were focused on the goal. And learning to take humans through that process of overcoming and staying focused on the goal, and then, in my case, hiring staff to keep everybody accountable to that part, and then hiring the team to make sure that everybody is practicing the highest and most recent techniques that are working in today's market, and making sure that stays, you know, a business that continues to help people mature through that process. You darn skippy, we charge $9.97 a month, and that's exactly why the price is going up, because we got to keep. We're adding more. We've added 3 more things since the last time you've heard that already. And again, that's not free, but the people who are already in, they're getting it at no additional cost.
I'll definitely be purchasing.
Yep. That's just what's going to happen. I'm sorry.
I'll definitely be purchasing. For real. $9.97, that ain't much.
I encourage you to do so sooner than later. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. I'll give you the link after we're done. And hey, next class is tomorrow morning at, 10? Yeah, tomorrow morning at 10. And I'm going to be the one teaching actually both classes tomorrow. So I'm teaching both classes tomorrow. And it's going to be great because
we will put that link in the show notes.
Okay. We are, again, I'm here for your transformation. I was given a gift. That gift is to understand information, be able to assimilate that information, act on that information in very clear directions, and to be able to translate that information to other individuals. And we're just repackaging that because I believe very strongly a goal, once obtained, becomes a responsibility. And I don't care what kind of goal it is. You know, maybe you bat 400. Great. Teach somebody to bat 400. You know, whatever the goal is, you figured out how to get married. Awesome. Great. You figured out how to stay married. Awesome. Wonderful. Teach somebody else, because that's what you were given. This is what I was given, and we were all given something, and I know that for a fact. And all I'm trying to do is just make sure that more people feel empowered and enabled to give whatever their natural thing is to the world. And this is the work that we do.
Man,
Nice, man.
What you just said, man, that just kind of reminded me of Kobe Bryant, man. He was so good at basketball and he started teaching people. That's like, man, that's deep.
Exactly. That's all I'm saying. Teach. You got that gift. I didn't get that gift. You did. It's your responsibility, right? You know, I didn't get them all. In fact, my gift comes with a whole bunch of negatives that I got to deal with, and other things that are simple for you to do. I struggle to get them done, which is great. And that's when I come to you and like, okay, what do I do? You know, because that's just how it is. But we all have something. Maybe you would be a killer mom. I don't know. But you're so stressed about eating, gas, car, clothes. I don't know. What if you could have a business that puts you in a position, because this is what I tell everybody. And this is because this is one of the transformations you have to go through. You have to learn to be okay. Like, this is a legit concern. It's going to sound crazy, but it is a legit concern. You have to be okay. Think about the amount of money you earned the last 12 months or last year. All of it. For those of you who have a business, top line revenue. Okay. W-2, the pre-tax income, not the take home, pre-tax. Think about that number. Now, first, I just want you to think about that number happening for you every month. Just think about that for a second. Like, what? Exactly. Even if you only had 20 grand a year, US dollars, but now you're at 20,000 a month. Your world is completely different than what you experienced last year. Now, most humans can figure out how to do that part, increase their income. Where we're horrible is that in order to do it, we often sacrifice our time and then die. Okay. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is, now that you got that number in your head, just imagine if it was possible for you to not only take your annual income and make it your monthly income, but now you're working an hour a day. The question becomes, what do you do with the rest of your time? That was my dilemma. And what I eventually decided to do was teach. Some of you, you're going to do something completely different. One of my friends, he took his son is reasonably good at soccer, and the team had a trip to London, and he went like everybody, and his business continued to run while he was gone, and he was under no pressure to return any particular time. I don't know what the ROI of that is, but I know to him it was worth it. And that's what I care about. Enabling you, yes, you, the person who's been talking to themselves, but that's never happened for me before. You, that person, you are the person I'm talking to right now. Because that was me. That was me. And I know that you can be different. So
I know that, and you mentioned it earlier. The beauty of doing what you're doing, and mm-hmm. and you know, helping other people do it wherever they're at is that you can do it wherever you're at in the world, right?
Right.
In this country, especially, but in the world. Yeah. So, do you find any special benefits of living in Southern California as far as business wise?
Business? Oh, sweet yeah. Jesus, no. Are you kidding me? No. California wanted me gone a long time ago. They continually remind me that they do not want me to do business here. Every time. Are you kidding? No, and no. I mean, no. So, in fact, I just saw an article. Oh my God, it's crazy. Fortunately, this one isn't mandatory, but they're all excited because now we have the option to take up to 3 different driver's license photos. But if you take more than one, you have to pay $5 for each additional one. It's a digital photo, people. Seriously? So you get to literally take 3 and choose the one that you want on your driver's license. So you're saying that's worth another $15. I'm like, what? I don't even understand. I'm like, come on. Are people really, really that concerned about their driver's license photo? Apparently so. But there are just all kinds of very interesting things that I'm just like, wow, you thought that was a good idea? So, yeah, no, California proves too many times that they don't like entrepreneurs and those that can create jobs. That's why we've been shedding them for so long, and that's why we end up moving to Texas.
Yeah.
Wow.
But at the same time, what I do affords me, I can live. If I'm going to choose where I want to live, it's a great place to live. Great place to live. But yeah, no, they're not doing any entrepreneur business any favors whatsoever.
Okay. I guess because I always see like, athletes or whoever, they'll play for a discount to be in Southern California. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
And
there's something to be said, but who you get to rub elbows with. I mean, your chance encounter at Starbucks can change literally your life out here.
right. But that hasn't. That's what I was saying. Does that affect your business in that way that you're networking with people that are like heavy hitters out there?
From that standpoint, yeah, that totally makes all the kinds of difference in the world, especially when it comes to when you do media or podcasts and YouTube videos and all of these things today. Yeah, I mean, and it's also scary because occasionally I'm just chilling at Starbucks and one of y'all walk up to me. So just please remember, gentle. I don't know you yet. You may have heard me before. I'm willing to talk to you, but just remember, I haven't met you yet. Okay?
I'll roll up on Jay, man. What up, Jay?
Yeah. Yes, bro. I had that happen one time. It was after a present. No, it wasn't. I was in a hotel parking lot at night, and I don't know who you are. And someone just yells Jay and starts running at me across the parking lot at night. So I had a shadowy figure running at me, and I'm like, oh dear Lord, I don't know what to do. And you just got to understand that sometimes how it occurs isn't how you meant it. So just be aware of that. Okay. And it's fine. I'm willing. Please say hi. But just remember that, it's not the same because you see my face. I've never met you before.
Right. Man, this has been an awesome episode. Thank you so much for hopping on with us. And for free, you're not going to bill us, are you?
There's no need, because see, I know that there's a person or two who needed to hear this. I wouldn't want to put that roadblock in their way, because that often becomes an excuse. I've heard people say, well, I could have, if I was, if they would have let me in or somebody, what have you. And I do my best to make sure that the message is spread as far and as wide and as efficiently as I possibly can. And besides, if we're speaking real, you guys are going to spend so much money in trying to market this podcast and episode. It doesn't matter, because that's part of what you have to do as the entrepreneur, is get your message out there. And I know what it takes to get a YouTube video seen and a podcast heard. And you guys have been doing it because you're on, what is this, episode 100 and something? So
14,
it's your first rodeo, and it ain't free. So I know that. So that's more than enough payment, if you will, because we're all on the spinning globe together, and it's going to take all of us. If we are going to fix any of the issues that anyone's complaining about, specifically in the United States, it is us entrepreneurs working together who are going to be able to make that happen. And there isn't an algorithm strong enough, if we all work together, to stop us from making that a reality.
That is awesome. And if I could get our fans to move at this speed of instruction, I would say the first thing to do, especially if you don't want to, if you can't shell out any money right now, just go. He gives so much free, amazing advice on his podcast. So go, like right now, go to his podcast, hit the subscribe button, or go to his YouTube and hit the subscribe button and just binge, and you'll get so much good stuff. And he has amazing guests on there, and you could fall asleep to his amazing radio voice from God. You know what I'm saying?
Awesome. Thank you. I have heard that too. Another gift that I was apparently given. Didn't realize it.
He dropped some gems, y'all. He dropped some gems. You've heard our past guests bring him up, so he dropped gems.
What?
All right.
I'm sorry, what?
I was telling our listeners, our past guests have brought you up. Like, hey,
Oh, really?
oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, that's amazing.
A bunch of them. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, we've had Oprah on, LeBron. I'm just kidding.
Okay, don't be playing. Okay, yeah. I understand. I do. Now, I've spent a lot of time with professional sports people, but it wasn't LeBron, and that's all I'm going to say. But at the same time, I know it wasn't him. He doesn't know I exist yet. Keyword being yet.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Just run up on him at a Starbucks. All you got to do.
Right? No, probably a really bad idea. Security is probably worse than anything I could possibly
At
imagine.
night.
At night, right? I totally get squished. Nope, I'm good.
Man. So where can folks find you?
The easiest, so to tag onto the podcast, you just go to cashflowdiarypodcast.com. And for those of you who actually want to take that, short-term rental journey one step further, one of the things that I know for a fact is that as humans, if we don't know the goal, it's hard to be excited or motivated for it. So one of the goals that a lot of people don't know is how many units does it take for them to retire? So what I did is I created a calculator that will tell you. It's going to ask you a number of questions. You put in your information, and it's going to say, hey, in order for you to retire with the level of income that you just told me, you need 10 units, 5 units. And it'll tell you how many units based upon whether you want to use a 2-bedroom house or a 3-bedroom house or apartment buildings, so that you can at least begin to have some more clarity around the subject. Because until you get that clarity, here's what I know: you won't take the action. You will not move at the speed of instruction. So you can get that calculator at cashflowdiary.com/how many units. Very simple. cashflowdiary.com/how many units.
Thanks again, Jay, for being an amazing guest, and we look forward to perhaps talking to you again in the future.
It sounds like fun. I'd do it anytime.
Yeah, man. Thank you for this. Thank you for coming on, man. You've been awesome, man. I really didn't have much to talk because I've been sitting over here taking notes. I was taking notes, man. Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on. We definitely look to having you back in the future.
Yeah, I'd love to do it. Sounds great.
All right, y'all. That is episode 114 with the great Jay Massey. Any closing words from you, Steve?
Can I borrow $9.97?
You want to borrow $9.97?
I'm good for it, man. I'll pay you back.
You got rentals, man.
Yeah.
There you go. Use that cash flow into the cash flow diary.
I'm about to raise the rent.
We're about to raise the rent. But yeah, man, I'm definitely about to use my $9.97. So so people, if y'all ready to get your health and fitness game together, be sure to follow Mahogany Artists at IG for all your fitness and nutritional needs, and be sure to follow LLT on IG, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. We appreciate the love, and thanks for being listeners. We are out.
Peace.
Later. Oh, we switched up that time. Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Live, Let, Thrive. Be sure to tune in next week for all the latest in the world of Airbnb and all that entails. Bye-bye.